All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Deal Room. My name is Gabe Bowling, and in today's episode, I have an amazing guest speaker here in person in our Tampa, Florida office, and honestly, one of the top performing members inside of the Deal Room community, Morgan Ehrenzeller. Welcome to the office.
Hey, thank you for having me, Gabe.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do with this episode is I've been able to see you grow so much over the last year and a half, but I think the story behind how you even got to where you are when you first started is really important for a lot of people who are listening to this episode, where they wanted to jump into multifamily, but they're stuck in their job or they're just going through the motions, and you had to be extremely creative getting into real estate. So I want to break it out for a lot of the beginners, but then also the amount of growth that you've had from when you started to scaling to what are you at now for number of units?
117 owned now with 198 to close next month, this month.
And what were you at when you first initially joined our community?
About 30.
Yeah, so to be able to see that growth as well, it's almost like a two-part story. So that's really what I want to take the time and dig deep on. So welcome, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So let's get started. One, how in the world did you even get started in real estate? So if you could just break out, your story. Where did you grow up in? Modest childhood? Did you grow up super broke? Did you grow up super rich? What was it for you growing up? And then where did real estate become, of interest for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I grew up in a very small rural area, about probably 700 population. We didn't even have a middle school. We had a 7 through 12 high school because it was that small. So that's kind of, where I grew up. How I got into real estate really was kind of an accident. So at 13, we grew up, we didn't have a lot of money at all. I remember one point we had a hole in our bathroom floor and I was so embarrassed to have friends over, all of that. So that was the main driver. And I made myself a promise at 13 that I was going to be the one that changed my bloodline forever. And we were no longer going to live like that. So at 14, I started teaching myself coding. And then at 14, I launched a software company. And then from there, we were doing that. Me and my partner and I were making about $1,000 a day at 15, 16 years old.
Holy cow.
PayPal, they limited my account though because I wasn't an adult. I wasn't 18. So you had to be an adult to have, third-party processors. So then as a young entrepreneur, I'm like, okay, I need to pivot to another currency. So then I found Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So then I started rerouting all my software profits into Bitcoin. This was 2011, 2012. And at this point, it was like $30 a coin.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of an accident as well, too. I just needed a new currency to take my payments from. So then at that point, money was making pretty good money as, a teenager. And I picked something up that I didn't know what to do with the money. I didn't come from money or anything like that. Now, granted, my parents gave me everything that they could.
Yeah.
I'm not dissing them by any means, everything that they physically could. But I realized every rich or wealthy person was involved in real estate.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those ones, if you want to drive a Ferrari, you want to take advice from someone driving a Toyota or a Ferrari. So at 17, I bought my first duplex, one seller finance with $5,000 down.
That's insane.
And that was my journey into real estate.
All right, so let's unpack. That's kind of insane, to be honest, because I'm pretty sure when I was 14 and 15 and 16, I was worrying about, how I would dress to school and not really worried about money. Were you just born natural entrepreneur? I like to create things, or was it there was a figure in your life where it's okay, he's rich, he's a business owner, I want to be like him? What was it that made you okay, I want to make money and build a business and do all that fun stuff?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't have a mentor, that person growing up at all. My parents, worked a normal W-2. My siblings have W-2 jobs. No one in my family owns a business at all. So it's just one of those ones where I always had that entrepreneurial mindset growing up, so to say. I think when I was 9, 10, my aunt, she would get discount candles from Virginia and bring up, and I would flip them at Christmas. Yeah, so we were doing things like that. I had access to a Best Buy employee login where you could get discount electronics, and then from there I would flip those as well, buy them at a discount from Best Buy, and I would flip them as
So
well.
you had that little vein of seeing, I can buy this for this, I can sell it for this, and this is where that little spread is.
Yeah, so I always had that entrepreneurial ever since I was young, but no one else in my family has that like me.
Interesting. Very cool. So, all right, you get up to 17, you buy your first duplex. Are you in school, or where are you at in 17? Are you high school or college at 17?
So yeah, I started college at 17, and then yeah, I bought the duplex right before I went to college, and then sold the software company because I wanted to do what every teenager did: drink, chase girls, all that stuff. So then I bought the duplex, but I didn't do anything with it because I wanted to get my degree and have fun while I was in college.
Yep.
So I started college at 17, pretty much was hands off, and then while I was in college in my free time, I knew since I already bought the duplex, it was one of those moments where, okay, I don't know it now, but I'm going to push myself off the cliff and I'm going to learn it. I'm resourceful, if I can do, all the other things I did at that age, I can figure this out. So it was one of those ones, I'll figure it out as I go. And while in college, in my free time, I was still, I was listening to podcasts, reading books, reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, found out about the BRRRR method. I think when I was like 18 or 19, at that point, I was like, holy shit, like, this industry is going to change my life.
Yeah.
And then I was just soaking up that wisdom and those gold nuggets, waiting for when I graduated college to start executing.
Yeah. At what point, and it probably is a mix between the self-entrepreneurial thing that you have in your veins, but at what point does personal development become really important for you? Because every time I'm around you, every time I see you, you're like, I'm always trying to grow, I'm always trying to learn. Is this where it started, like this early on? Or was that later on in your career?
Honestly, personal development probably started when I joined the deal room.
Really?
Yeah. Right around that time, I quickly realized, okay, to get into life or to get to where I want to go, you have two options. You can A, work your way there, or B, you can pay your way there.
Yeah.
So you're paying with time or you're paying with money. And at that point in time in me, my time is, worth more to me than money. And it still is to this day. So I'm a very big advocate of continuing education, continuing self-improvement, that stuff.
Very cool.
But yeah, it's one of those ones where it's just, as you grow, your time becomes more worth to you than what money is.
Yeah. All right. So let's dive into the deal side of it. So you do the duplex, you go to college, and then at what point so you're at 2, you get to 30 somehow, because I know we enter the picture at 30.
Mm-hmm.
Walk me through 2 and 30. What's that look like for you?
Yeah, great question. So right after college, my last semester of college, COVID was just happening, 2020. I had extra money left over still from software. Even in college, I was flipping things, flipping shoes, flipping, Supreme. I flipped a car. One time I picked up a dog and flipped a dog, make some money. Anything I could to make extra money.
Yeah.
So
I think that's important though. Like for everybody listening, like people might laugh at it, but like you got to have that hustle. Like it's just straight hustler mentality. It's like you can either sit, complain on a couch and do nothing and have nothing, or you can just get after it. It's like if you're not born into it, you got to hustle your way to it. So I saw that and you're like, man, this guy's extremely hungry.
Yeah.
And it didn't start at like 20. It started when you were 14 and 15. That's awesome. All right. 2 to 30 after the college and stuff.
Yeah, so last semester of college, just got back from Cancun, spring break with my friends. Went to a foreclosure auction in my college town. Was the only person who bid on won a house for $10K.
Really?
So yeah, I was like, I have this extra money. All my other friends, they're spending on new cars, all this, that. I'm like, going to the city, buying the nice apartment, or renting the nicest apartment. I'm like, I knew in my head that's not the right move right now. That's going to get me stuck in the rat race. So I bought that for $10,000. My dad was a carpenter, so he had me, up on a roof at the age of 9. So, my whole life growing up, I knew construction, not just from the outside in, the inside out as well. So I was very familiar with construction, put about $17,000 of sweat equity into it. And then I refinanced that one. It was worth $126,000. And that's when it really clicked with me. I was like, shit, at that point I was 22 years old. Like 3-4 weeks, I just picked up $100K in equity. I'm like, wow, I don't come from investment banking. I don't come from money. No other industry is ever going to do this for me where I'm at in my life right now. So did that. And then I did a bridge loan on that, pulled out money, went and bought 2 more houses outright. I bought them for $44,000 for the both, a 5-bed, 2-bath, and a 1-bed, 1-bath with a garage. Now, this was a killer deal. After repair values, those are probably hovering around $375,000, $400,000.
Wow.
Granted, same scenario though. These are value adds. I had to go in, fix them up, all of that. So I bought those 2 outright. Bought another house there's a website called Pre-REO. It's a gold nugget. Pre-REO. They finance mortgage or foreclosures as well. So there, I found another foreclosure for $12,000. Put 25% down from that refinance from the bridge, and got into another house. It's worth about $175,000. So then I had that one as well. Then from there, liquidated some of my cryptocurrency. At that point, the bull run hit again, made a lot more money in cryptocurrency, bought some more foreclosures outright, got to about 10 to 15 houses there doing that in my first 12 to 18 months out of college, and then I ran out of money. So at that point, I'm like, okay, how do I keep scaling as an entrepreneur? And then I'm, starting to, shake, make a little bit of noise before, starting out. No one wants to give you money. And you shouldn't take other people's money, when you have less than 10 houses under you. So at that point, started shaking and grooving. My friends from college, they're all graduating professional jobs. Some of them attorneys, nurses, school teachers. They're like, I want a piece of that. So they were seeing it. So then I started partnering with those people who were bringing the money. I would find the home run deal. I would go in, I'd run operations, I would flip the house, and then we would split the profits at the end. We'd refinance out and split it. So did that to about, that 30 house mark there.
So 2 to 30, extremely creative foreclosure, low money down, financing with bridge, and then you run out of money, and then instead of going online and starting an entire little syndication business and doing the whole thing, you go to immediate friends and family. The reason they're so comfortable with it is because they're literally seeing you do the 2 to 15, and they're like, okay, this is good, you've proven it out, I want a piece of that.
Yep, exactly.
And then that's what gets you to 30-ish mark. Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. Now, okay, first off, congrats. That's pretty, I don't know, like if every single person here that's watching is even going to get up to that point. Hopefully everybody does. You're out of that first initial phase of like the first couple of years of the investor side, and now it's like, all right, this is becoming a real business. We're getting outside capital from more than just friends and family. I'm sure they're talking about it to their friends, and it just keeps snowball effect growing. Walk me through like the thought process of, you're at 30, you probably feel pretty good about the income that you have at this point. You're probably financially free to this degree at a very young age. What's like the mindset that you have, or maybe you're just entrepreneurial bug, you're never going to stop growing. Is there a big mindset shift of, we could just keep doing the thing that we're doing right this second and stay this certain size, or we can go and focus on scale, which I think you are right this second. Walk me through that.
Yeah, so when I got to the 30, I was trying to get loans from banks and stuff to keep growing the portfolio, and they kept shutting me down. Morgan, you don't have 3 years tax returns, you don't have 3 years jobs history. Good luck, go get lost, kid. We're not giving you money to go play Monopoly. Like, you need that. So at that point, I'm like, okay.
Darn.
I was like, okay, well, I have this degree. Well, I have these 2 degrees. I just, wasted 4.5 years of my life. Let me see if I can do something with that. So long story short, I went and I got a job at a market research firm growing technology companies, which I was actually very passionate about because I come from that tech background. So I was already familiar with a lot of that. And at that point, I had about 30, and I was talking to one of my clients, Darren Clum with Secured 2, and I was to grow their technology companies over 100 million in revenue. That was really my job. And we were talking about saving taxes, and I was like, oh, Darren, like, do you have any real estate to help, mitigate your tax issue? And he's like, yeah, I actually have a 16-unit building. And I was like, oh, like, I actually own real estate too myself. So then he's like, Morgan, tell me about your background. What's your story? So I told him, and he just looks at me and he's like, Morgan, like, what the fuck are you doing working here? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I went to school, I'm here working. Like, is that? He's like, no, Morgan, you don't belong here. You have characteristics. You can change this world. Like, you need to go open a fund. You need to go raise, outside investors. You need to make projections. He's like, my family friends have funded Facebook for 300 million when they first launched. I can introduce you to people.
Yeah.
So at that point, the mind starts going. He was that arm that believed in me when I didn't have it.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like, shit, this guy's right. Like, I don't belong here. So then that's when I started researching funds, going down the fund route. Came across a lot of Bridger Pennington stuff, and then that's how I ultimately found you then through the podcast with the Bigger Pockets and stuff.
Insane. I think that the part that you just pulled out, the exposure, somebody, because up to this point, you have a limiting belief on what you can and can't do, and you're an entrepreneurial person at heart, so you're like, gonna hustle. And you did, and that hustle is what got you up to this point, that 15, and then friends and family got you up to 30. But to go from 30 to like over 100 in a very short period of time, something changes mentally. And a lot of it's like somebody that's done a really, big amount, like something that you can't even fathom. And they're like, dude, you have potential. Like, you should be doing something a lot bigger than what you're currently doing. I find that like commonly in a lot of these people. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, props to him. He believed in me when no one else did. So that was definitely shifted me up and expanded it. But and then that time frame too, some of my partners from college, they wanted to be active and learned all this stuff too. So at that point, I was like at 30, I knew the trajectory of where I was going. I was going up quickly, and I quickly realized for me to keep scaling, I'm not going to be able to do this all myself. So then I was teaching my partners my knowledge. So then, because I knew in 1 to 2 years, I was going to be on a whole nother level, and that small shit isn't going to be worth my time. So at that point, I made it, very, very involved with my partners in teaching and, writing out those SOPs and the systems and processes, because I knew in my near future, that small stuff, like, it wasn't going to fly for me anymore. And, we were, sanding drywall in the middle of the winter with no heat in the houses and stuff like that. Like, we were, sleeping on the floors. Like, so I want to bring them with me too. I don't want to leave them behind because they're in the trenches with me. So I made it a point to build the team, and as I built the team would help build the business. So that's, a very pivotal mind shift too to this day, because they help a lot with the heavy lift. If it wasn't, I'm not trying to take the credit, but if it wasn't for teaching them that versus, I just go do it all, it would be much, much, much harder.
I think a lot of people need to be okay not having 100% of the pie if the pie is big enough.
Exactly.
Everybody tries to hold on. I need 100%. I need it. I need it all. Most of the wealthy people I know own a smaller percentage of a much bigger pie, and they're much better off than a lot of the people that are focused on owning 100% of it.
Yeah, it's like, would you rather eat a grape or have 5% of a watermelon?
Yeah. Watermelon. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's break into first year into Deal Room. Okay, you found the right vehicle. By the way, thank you for joining. Hopefully, it's been worth every amount of dollars that you put into it and the time. Walk me through this last year for you, scaling from 30 to over 100.
Yeah. So since I joined the Deal Room, we still were picking up some small stuff here and there, generally for flipping, just for active income. So I won't generally touch a single family house unless we can pick up at least $100,000 on the flip. Wow. So that's just generally what our time, energy, and all of that's worth. So, picking up a handful of those in there just to move money across the board. But from the multifamily lens, bought an 18 unit in Alice, Texas. Now we already acquisition and disposition that one, picked that 18 unit up for $70K. Brian and I bought a 12 unit for $55K. Some of my partners from college and I, we bought a 24 unit on seller finance with $32K with credit cards. And then as well right now, some other stuff we have under contract to close next month. 22 unit in Bluefield, West Virginia. It's also a seller finance deal, 120K down. And then also a 34 unit in Torino, Texas. Also seller finance deal, 1.4 million, 275K down. Market rents are about half of what they should be. Mom and pop owned it for 10, 15 years, haven't raised the rents. And then recently the bigger one was a 47 unit that we got under contract for 50,000 down.
So I hear a bunch of things I could probably open up at. Let's start. So deal flow and how in the world you're even finding these seller finance deals. I know is the number one question people are going to want to know. Before that, how important is the training aspect of it? Because you're a go, go, go guy and you're making a lot of decisions quickly. And to be able to do that, you have to have a lot of certainty behind decisions and like the numbers in it. When you join, like how important was it to actually get trained? To be able to move this fast?
Yes. So that was a very, very good question. When I first joined, I knew, surface level stuff about multifamily, but
Like everybody, that's the reason I asked this question because I think it's really important. A lot of people try to shoot from the hip. They want to go because it's flip, like they come from the flipping world. They're used to doing, all right, what's ARV minus 25%? All right, let's submit the offer. It's almost as simple as that, but there are a few variables that you can get stuck up on and lose quite a bit of money. I'm trying to paint, the importance of proper training before shooting from the hip. Like
that's a great question. So, I was, in the single family, the small stuff. And I mean, at that point I could have, taken down, $1 million, $2 million deals for multifamily, but I knew I wasn't there personally yet. And I mean, not that I couldn't have done it, but I knew I would have cost myself a lot of money along the way. And like I said earlier, you're going to pay with time, you're going to pay with money.
Yeah.
And I recognize, by me falling and, tripping my knees, those, that's, that could be a 500,000 screw up. So I made it apparent, really for those first 0 to 8 months, really just education, and really focus on the education aspect rather than, trying to find the deals. But my whole, entire real estate career so far to this far, I really hone on just trying to find the deal. I think that's my specialty, but also from the standpoint of everything starts with the deal. Yep. Without a deal, you can't raise capital. Without a deal, you can't find an operator. So when you have the deal and you have good deals, you can find an operator, you can find capital to plug the pieces together. Yep. So I still, try to have that mindset today is, really honing in on the deal and finding the deal.
You got trained in it and then you started taking action. What would you say the period of time that you spent for the education was? A couple months?
Yeah, I think probably like 6 months, 8 months. I think at that time I was buying a couple 5 units. Yep. About 6, 8 months into the deal room. Yep. Starting out with those a 5, a 6. I think I got a little 12 there and there too. But yeah, just real small stuff to test the waters. And then gradually start going up and bigger and bigger.
Cool. So now let's dive in, and hopefully everybody understands. I'm not trying to be that guy. Like it's super important you get trained. Like you should get trained. Now let's go into the fun stuff. One, what defines a home run deal for you? And then let's move into deal flow and the fun sourcing of it.
So what defines a home run deal to me is a deal with little entry that you can get into with enormous upside, and that you can mitigate the risk within that in that middle space there. Because generally you can mitigate risk in almost any investment, at least 50, 60, 70%, depending on how you break it down. So finding ways on how you can mitigate risk is crucial in that. But yeah, it's really the deals, and then finding low entry. What was so attractive to me about those home run deals is because I didn't come from money, so I don't have an abundance of money sitting behind me that could come and fill these deals. So it's one of those ones you have to know exactly what you're looking for, because if you don't know what you're looking for, you'll never find it.
That's why I ask, because your definition of a great deal is different than my definition of a great deal. My definition of a great deal is different than Anthony's definition of a great deal. Mm-hmm. So you're finding a lot of these opportunities where they're seller finance deals, they're low money down, and they're extremely tough to come by. So let's ask the obvious and like the elephant in the room. How are you actually finding these deals? Like you don't have to go into all of it, but what is the main source of your deal flow right now?
Yeah, so most people, you hear the traditional go write mailers, go door knocking, driving for dollars, all of that, and ads. I don't spend a single dollar on ads or my marketing at all. Wow. Not a single dollar. And most people have, go all those options I just mentioned is an outward marketing approach. So if you're not familiar with marketing, you have inbound, you have outbound. Outbound, you're chasing. Inbound, they're coming to you. I would much rather have an inbound approach where I don't have to go chase them all. So I made it apparent from the beginning of setting up inbound marketing funnels. So that's, for example, I'll go to, broker events, other real estate events, and, subscribe to wholesalers' emails list and making a point where they're sending me deals all the time. So like my inbox is flooded full of deals, and then I go through and I analyze those deals. And at this point, a deal sticks out like a sore thumb, a good one from a bad one, when you just have so much data taking in all these deals. So that's generally what my deal flow looks like. It's all inbound coming to me rather than me chasing it.
Let's dig deeper a little bit. So what is this, realtor relationships in a local market that come across multifamily, or come across sellers that might want to pass something on but not to their kids or something like that, the story that we all look for? Is it going to events, letting people know that you're a cash buyer, whatever, however you're framing it? What is some really good golden nuggets that the listeners can walk away with?
Yeah, so all of those, yes, I do all of those, but I like to have a far reach. I like to get as much eyeballs to see what I'm doing as possible. So if I get to a particular market, for example, say we were here in Tampa and I want something in Tampa. Yeah, I could, put those feelers out, but guess what? Maybe 200, 300, 400 people know that's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
So I'll go and I'll join the community, the county community page. So if we're in Tampa, I'll go join Hillsborough County community page. Now there's millions of people there. So now I'll post exactly what I'm looking for, send it to this email address. A, now the deal flow comes there. I don't have to siphon through it. B, it helps promote my website, all of that too.
Yep.
And, I get millions of views instantly rather than trying to, here's a nugget, pass it out.
Yeah.
So that's the approach I take, is by mass communication.
Yeah. Leveraging other people's stages, kind of other people's audiences.
Yep.
That's a very, very valuable nugget. Thank you for that. So we got a little bit of the deal flow. You have it coming in, and this is direct to seller conversation. So what's the biggest thing because for me, I'm a broker guy. I love going to on-market, bigger stuff that's controlled by brokers. For a lot of these mid-sized-ish multifamily deals that you're doing direct to seller conversations, I'm assuming much more based around the seller's wants and needs, more than like the broker is only concerned about the price and like the best LOI that will come in. Can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of understanding the seller and actually what they're looking for versus, do you want to sell the building right now? Like, how is your approach with this and getting so many deals?
Yeah. So generally in multifamily, your owners are generally a little more sophisticated than, the 4 and under. But it's all about finding the pain. It's sales 101, finding the pain and tying the value to the pain. So like me, if I'm talking to a mom and pop, I say, okay, what price do you want for this? I'd like 1.5 million. All right, how did you come up with that number? Their brains will start scrambling. Oh, maybe I'm asking too high. Oh, it's been sitting a little bit. Okay, if I could give you that 1.5 million, could you work with me a little bit on some terms? And, if I can get you the price that you truly want, would you work with me on maybe, give me a little bit of a down payment. Let me go and fix the building up. I'm going to put money into it. Worst comes worst. You take the building back. I dumped a shit ton of money in it, and you're off with a better building. Yeah. So it's, finding the bunnies, as Pace Morby calls it, and, really scratching deeper. So like one example that I got, she was worried because if she sold her building, her Medicaid, she would have had all that income, her Medicaid, her insurance would have been gone. Yeah. So that's what she was really worried about, that, because she didn't want to pay for insurance. So I was like, okay, how about we explore this option? A, you can keep your insurance, and B, I'll give you the price that you want on your terms when you want it out. So now, and I mean, that's just there's so many different examples. Yeah. You'd be surprised on some of the stuff that people really, truly, truly want at the end of the day. So it's, diving a lot deeper and peeling that onion back to the core to find out what they truly, truly are looking for, and then how you can position that and tie that value to that issue.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Why don't you give me the craziest example you could think of, like the best deal that you bought for seller finance terms, since you've been in the game? what's like the home run highlight? You're with the guys, you're talking about the best deals you've ever done. What's the deal you're gonna bring up as like, I stole this thing, or this was a home run?
Yeah. So, yeah, it was about 10 o'clock about 2 months ago, 10 p.m., and my phone rings. It's a Wisconsin number. I'm like, it's not unusual for people to be working this late. So I pick it up. She's like, hey, Morgan, blah, blah, my name's blah, blah, blah. I've been sending deals to you for like 6, 8 months now. She's like, I have this deal. I think you're really going to like it. And I was like, all right, it's 10 o'clock here. Give me 2 minutes, pitch it to me quick. Like, what do you got? She's like, it's this 24 unit, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, where's it at? She's like, Illinois. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa there. Hold up. Like, I don't touch New York, California, or Illinois.
Yeah.
She's like, no, like, I think you really need to look at this. And I'm like, all right, send it to me. I'll check it out in the morning. And I was like, if I'm going to Illinois, like, this thing has to be a screamer. And I looked at it the next morning, and I thought it had some potential after looking at it. Yeah. So first she was like, listen, she'll take as 24 units. We're turning into 27 units. There's some extra space in the basement right now. She's like, she wants $400K cash for it. 17 to 24 are rented. It's bringing $9,500 in a month rent right now. And I was like, okay. So she said $400K cash, or she'll sell or finance it for $500K with $100,000 down. So I'm like, okay. It's bringing in $9,500 a month, as underwriting a little bit. And like I said, if I'm going to Illinois, it has to be juicy. Yeah. So I was like, all right, how about this? I'll offer you $400,000, but it's going to be 10% down, $40K. So she took it to the owner. This was a wholesaler. She took it to the owner, and she comes back to me a couple hours. She's like, how quick can you close? And I was
really?
Like, yeah. So I was like, I can close quick. And so at that point, it was $40K down. I go out there, walk them. This thing's already pumping out $9,500 a month. I negotiated 5% IO for 5-year bloom. So our monthly dead one is $1,500. It's already pumping out $9,500. That's day one.
Wow.
Yet alone we have these other vacancies we can fill yet too, and add more units to it.
That's insane.
So we did that one. I went out, walked it. There was some of the plumbing was backed up, so I had a hissy fit about that. I was like, oh, you didn't tell me this. Shaved 6K off it, and then I positioned it to land because she was collecting all the rents on the 1st, so I positioned it to close on like the 5th. Because we get prorated all of that rent because they collected it on the 1st, so we get the 25 days for all of those 17 tenants. So we got prorated all the rents, we got all the security deposits, shaved 6K down. All said and done, it's going to be about 55, 60K to close. Yep. All said and done, when we restructured it this way, 32K to close. Wow. And we put that all in an AMAX card.
Really? So you bought 24 units. Let's start high level. 24 units. And we should break out the whiteboard next time. 24 units for $400,000.
Yes.
Seller finance?
Yep.
$40,000 down.
Yep.
At least that was the starting point. And then it's already producing $9,500. Is that NOI or just straight income?
That's gross.
Okay.
And they're about half what they should be.
Yeah. So when they're rented out, it's going to be a lot more. But 95 day one, and then you negotiate it down throughout due diligence, and when you hit the closing table, it's $32,000, and you buy it on credit cards.
Yep, with an AMAX.
That's insanity. That is insanity.
With my two friends from college.
And when did this happen?
About 2 months ago.
Okay, it didn't happen in 1977?
No.
Okay, so people can might potentially be able to do maybe the same thing.
Yeah.
Or it's like a possibility. It's not so far-fetched.
No, 2 months
Creativity, what would you say it is, really? Creativity, the hunger, the willingness to never quit, sales, negotiation, understanding what people want, and then underwriting? Or what would you say like the principles are to what you do? Because it's very different than what I do.
Yeah. So everything you just mentioned is a great foundation. You definitely need that. But the number one thing I think it is if you can be resourceful, you can do anything.
What do you mean by that?
By anything, when I was 14, I taught myself a little bit of coding and hired virtual assistants to code me a software company. That's resourceful. Yeah. When you don't have anything, what can you do to make it work?
And you don't have ChatGPT.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
It's even easier today. Man, that's awesome. All right, so let's finish it up with two things. how important are partnerships? Because I see what you're doing with partnerships, and it's one getting you to grow a lot quicker. And then we'll kind of finish with where's the Morgan in the next 5 to 10 years? What's the big thing that you're working for?
Yeah, so partnerships, I believe partnerships and collaboration is the new currency. I really believe that, but it has to be with the right people. Very, very, very fine line there. It has to be with the right people who are very resourceful. Because example, in my opinion, say you and I partner on a deal, automatically in that deal, I have all of your resources because you have equitable interest in it, and you have all my resources. So now automatically when we combine those resources, we have a spider web of connections, all across America where we can pull levers from.
Yes.
So I'm a big, big, big firm believer on that. And that's really helped me scale a lot over the past year. Is that so big, big, big fan on collaboration and partnerships, but it has to be with the right person. It can't just be with, an average Joe, so to say. So that, and honestly, the next 5 to 10 years, where I want to be, every single person in my family retired, everyone in my extended family retired, everyone, my girlfriend's family retired. So that's really on the horizon for this year or next year, is for that. And then as well, I would, at this point, at the rate that we're going today, we'll definitely have over probably 2,500 units in 5 years, I would say, if we keep up, at the rate that we're going today. But yeah, that's generally what the big picture is. I want to create a big impact in this world, and I want to give more opportunity and build infrastructure around where I came from, because there's not shit there. So I want to be, creating an infrastructure and a blueprint where I'm from, so it's easier for people to do the things that I'm doing, and be able to give back to my community where I'm from.
Man, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing. Let's wrap it up with what I would like to classify as probably the most valuable portion of this is tangible action steps for the people that are listening to this podcast, where let's put into mind, like, not the 14-year-old version that's hiring VAs and running businesses when people are like in school and stuff, but like, the 20 to 25 to 30-year-old that's in a job, they don't love it, they want to move in the real estate, or maybe they're on the come up and they're lost, they're looking for that vehicle. I think if you're, listening to this, you're considering real estate and multifamily. Think about, that person. What would you say today, end of 2024, moving into 2025, would be like the best piece of advice for that person trying to break into the game?
Find the person who's doing what you want to do and is living your ideal lifestyle and how you see yourself and how you want to paint that picture for yourself moving forward, and get around them and work. So many people are so scared to do this. Work for free for those people. And you say it all the time, serve the table until you have a seat at the table. It's so true. Like, even to this day, I've worked for free for people who are 3 steps ahead of me. I will gladly work for free for them. A, it shows them I'm committed. B, I get a hell of an education from it that I can take that with me, and that'll help propel me continue forward. And C, when you serve it enough and you give them so much, they're going to feel obligated to give back to you at some point. So I still do that today, even in the position I am. I work for free for people who are bigger than me and are doing things where I want to go. So getting around those types of people and just working your ass off, and don't bitch and complain. Don't sit there with your hands out. No one owes you anything in this world.
Yeah, and don't quit.
Yeah, and do not quit, no matter what.
Many people just quit. Man, thank you so much for being here. Let's end with, how in the world do people get in touch with you? Because I think it's very inspiring. I think a lot of people are going to be tracking what you're doing, because you're not 30 years ahead. You're like you're 3-5 years ahead, where it's not too far gone, where what you're doing today is still applicable to what people can do from right this second. So where can people find you?
So I'm all over social media, just Morgan Ehrenzeller, or you can email me, morgan@ehrenzellercapital.com. I'm pretty active on social media. I'm very responsive to people there. So that's generally where I talk to a lot of people who have questions, or maybe you're asking for a little guidance. And we can go from there and set up a meeting if anyone needs help.
Awesome. And potentially even do a deal with you.
Potentially do a deal with me as well.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll see you in the next episode.